Hello, I'm Lise Colucci, one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. Hi, everybody. Hi, Jeannie, Chris, Suzanne, and Vicky. Good afternoon or night or wherever it is where you are. So, hello. If you are a person needing help with narcissistic abuse recovery, head over to queenbeing.com, where we have all the information that is there to help you. We have links to peer support, and there is information about coaching over there as well if that is needed. So head over to queenbeing.com if you need that. If you would like notified by going live, I go live 4 times a week usually. Text me at 33222. Put the words Lise Live, Liselive, hit send, and I will send you a text right before I go live. And I think that's it. Yeah, so we're going to get started today talking. Hi, Life's Revival and Jeannie. We're going to talk today about, I have to close this because it's going to make noise. Okay, all gone. Talk today about change. Why is change so hard? And when the feeling of I'm not where I thought I am, I'm not where I thought I should be in life. I'm not where I thought I would be in life. My life is not the way I thought it would turn out. That feeling, and how narcissistic abuse kind of can, obviously you wake up from the spell of the trauma bond and there you are going, how did I get here in life? So let's talk about that. Hi, Christy and Andy. Talk about it all. We'll just talk it. And if you guys have anything you want to talk about, please feel free to change the topic anytime and ask a question if you have anything that you need help with. So let's get going and talk about this. Okay. What do I want to start? I want to start with something. So I'm going to start with saying that when you feel like your life is not what you thought it was going to be, Life's Revival is saying so much loss that all and any change causes me to feel sad. When you feel like your life is not where you thought it would be, you wake up one day or you're just like have this realization of like, how did I get here? What happened? Why? I mean, you know what happened, but it feels kind of, it can be disappointing and it can be all kinds of negative feelings, right? And that's the point of where you can see you can make change in your life. Right? It gives you options. It actually isn't a bad thing to have that feeling of, whoa, I'm not where I thought I'd be. Well, then you have all kinds of options for making change in your life. Don't you? I mean, you always do, no matter what you feel, but it's not as deep a hole as it feels like. It really isn't. It can be turned around into something positive. I trusted people that I shouldn't have, right? So the number one thing I have written down here, when you feel that way, at least to me, to work with it is to embrace change. Easier said than done, right? When you have had toxic abuse in your life that has now made it feel like what? Like you're afraid of change. I mean, what do we fear in change? We're going to flip over and talk about change for a minute. And what is change and how, what is change, but how to, what blocks us from making change? So fear, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of what if, fear of the worst fear of what if I repeat this same issue? What if I let another toxic person in my life? What if I don't keep up my own boundaries? What if I don't see it coming? What if I can't see the red flags? All that fear blocks you from making change, right? Fear of not knowing who you are, not knowing what it is you want. Hi, Fancy Sprinkles. Christy's saying, I feel like you shouldn't embrace it. You should embrace it and create more for yourself. Change yourself for the better. Right. But how do you embrace it when fear's in your way? How do you get past the fear of, that's what I'm asking. How's it worked for you guys? Fear of failure. Fear of failure. Why do we fear failure? In truth, if you look at each of these pieces, the unknown is nothing more than a beautiful place of unknown. It isn't good or bad. It just is. It doesn't mean the other shoe's going to drop. The other shoe will always drop somewhere, but it's okay because life is like that. It's ups and downs, right? Fear of more loss, right? But okay, so let's look at each of these. Fear of failure. Failure is nothing more than a lesson learned in a way to not do something or to do it differently, or you fail in order to succeed. Most people don't succeed the first time they try something. Once in a while you get lucky and you do, or I don't even know if that's lucky. It just is. But in failure, in truth, when you look at people who fail, they're the ones that achieve. They're the ones that make things innovative and create and have uniqueness and all of that in their lives. So failure in itself is all it is. Like okay, so one example of failing is like, say you meet someone new and you're afraid of that relationship failing. Well, if the relationship isn't good for you, it's meant to end. That's not a failure. That is setting a boundary and sticking to it, right? So it's a success. So it really is the way we look at our failures that is the thing we should be considering, not the failure itself. And fear of more loss, every moment of life is a piece of loss, and it's also gain, right? There's loss and gain going on every second. So it's really this interesting. We're afraid of the dark, scary feelings that we know we can survive. But really, what are we afraid of? Is it more the unknown of the stuff that we don't know we can't survive? Like, what is this? What would it be to, I don't know. What would it be to not fear that loss? That's more scary than fearing the loss, because we already know what the loss feels like. So what do you do? How do you get past the fear? I think it's letting go of that fear having any meaning. So what? If it's there, just do it anyway and see what happens in your life. Do it with some wisdom and knowing that you can trust yourself, because you've learned to set boundaries and you've learned to listen to yourself. And I mean, this is self-discovery, right? How can you know what's next if you don't try it? So hello, Bonnie and Andy. What else? So how we have loyalties. These are things that block change, okay? We have loyalties to things that do not serve our lives. It doesn't serve your life to have negative self-talk and negative self-image, to have limiting beliefs. It does not serve your life. All it does is keep you locked in a pattern of your own traumas and toxic experiences that then you become kind of toxic to yourself because of the patterns. So if loyalties that we have to things that don't serve our lives, beliefs that don't actually serve our lives. I feel guilty for saying no to someone. Well, how does that serve anybody? All that serves is making the other person not have to have an emotion that might be one where they don't get their way. Right? That's not serving anybody's life, except making it simple on that other person to get their way. Make it, so is that tug of war where I let people in and then you second guess and then you think just shut away. Christy's saying my fear is also guilt for things in the past that I know I shouldn't feel guilty for. So shoulds and shouldn'ts, those lock us away from change, right? Shoulds and shouldn'ts. Like being in a narcissistic relationship and letting that happen to me. We know that it's not letting, okay? We know that it is a very slowly created process by which you got stuck there. You didn't fall into the worst of it. You were slowly pulled down a path and all the breadcrumbs got eaten behind you and you didn't know how to find your way out. That's all it was. You didn't let yourself get into it. Even if you see the red flags in the beginning, we cover up for them unless we know how to set boundaries and functionally get ourselves away from toxic people, because we can't see what's going to happen in the future. So so it's not letting, but it feels like letting, right? Learning to let go might help instead of the push, to allow the fact that happened to you and you had some level of participation in it. Doesn't mean you're taking the blame or anything. It just means, okay, I can see where if this happens again, I could make change, right? If you're blocking yourself by saying I have to push through and I feel like I let this happen to me and I feel guilt, then you're blocking the change that could happen that will help you not have that experience again. Because by owning what happened without judging it on yourself. I mean, you can judge a toxic person all you want. I don't have an issue with that personally, but judging yourself for it, as in the shoulds and the guilts, can actually make it harder to set boundaries next time or with other people. So letting that go can be helpful. Bonnie's saying the frog in boiling water. Exactly. That's being with a narcissistic abuse. When we know better, we do better. That's right. And knowing better that's why there's so much information. It's not simple, right? Being scared doesn't help with problem solving. Fancy is saying, can't remember who said this, but I have it on my wall to remind myself. Being scared doesn't help with problem solving. It sure doesn't. Being scared is separate from our logic, right? Our logic might get you there in an instant because something very logical makes sense. It's happened once, it's going to happen again. That's like taking a logical statement, yes, it's happened once, and throwing it into some emotional tailspin where we start overthinking. And it doesn't really help, because what it does is mounts the fear instead of allowing us to be discerning and have our boundaries in place so that we don't need to fear. All right. So, but there's all kinds of reasons for fear, not just boundaries. Let's see. So set patterns also help us to stay locked away and keep us closed and not open and receptive to change. So the whole point is we need to become open and receptive to change, right? It's useful to be more open to life than it is to be closed to life. It's very natural after narcissistic abuse to want to close down. And if you see a boundary less as a wall and more as a force field, maybe that's the imagery I would prefer for at least my life, that it's not a wall that's keeping people out. It's a force field that keeps my energy to myself and theirs over there. And I can still openly interact with that in place. It's using that because it's not allowing other people to have such an effect on things like self-worth, right? My self-worth, not theirs. They can have all the effect they want on theirs, right? And they should. But also, so set patterns in your life. This is how I've always done it. This is how I'm going to do it. So when you see patterns that keep happening, try a different pattern, try a different path. Just that in itself is change. And it can help if you're looking towards other people's successes, try it. That's why we do these videos, right? Like, here are some tips for self-care, and like name 15 things. All 15 things, like there may only be 2 that actually work for an individual person, work in the sense of like actually make you feel better. But if you don't try them on, how do you know if they work? So that's breaking a pattern, right? To try something new that is a known strategy for other people. That doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but it might. And if not, it might lead you to an idea of what would work for you. So breaking those set patterns can help you open up to change and be receptive to change. Change is constant, learning how to steer it. Phoenix, that's right. Change is inevitable. This is the thing. Nothing stays the same. Nothing. Change is inevitable. And so the fear of it really makes you have a fear of life, doesn't it? Because change is happening every second. In some way or another, there's change happening. And why not have the change be within you as well? We don't want to feel the way we feel, but we're afraid of changing it. We're afraid of letting go in order to do something differently. We get stuck in thinking this is just how I am. This is my personality type even. Yes, our personality types guide how we perceive the world and how we react to the world, but that doesn't mean we don't have massive amount of flexibility within that to do something differently or go outside of type to do it. Sometimes that's why it's helpful to know your personality type, to know that if I am, an INFP and I'm going to overthink and I'm going to react to everything emotionally, that if I don't try really hard to use my logic, that I'm just going to listen to those emotions all day long and my thoughts are going to follow the emotions and I'm never going to get out of this tailspin. So to do something differently might be to make a list, might be to try a logical approach. It might be, it's like finding a different strategy outside the norm of my own patterning can help you to make some change and actually have tangible change that you can witness. Okay, what are we saying here? Yes, your own experience, it happened, but shouldn't blame ourselves for it. Pick yourself up, brush yourself off, dive into the present and positive future. Hard-won knowledge. It's exactly hard. It is hard-won knowledge, and use it to your benefit. Andy is saying we need an effort attitude. It's getting to the point where you realize you can't lose. Having I'd rather try and fail than not try at all attitude. That's right. It's let it go. It's a letting go of the fear of what if I fail? Well, so what? You're already stuck, right? You're already feeling stuck. So what if you fail? If you fail, at least it's motion. At least it's different. And then what did you learn from the failure? What did you learn from whatever it is that you can apply to next time and keep going? So limiting beliefs are huge in closing you off and to your receptivity to change. Limiting beliefs are difficult. When the psychology, hi Violet, the psychology that we live with that has formed the lens we look through. It isn't who you are, okay? Your limiting beliefs aren't who you are. Your limiting beliefs are programming that's in your head that is just going over and over the same track that is in your head. So you have a stimulation, you have a trigger, and you have a response. And it's the quickest route to that response, which is the belief, is because it's over and over been repeated in your head. So the way to change it is to literally change the beliefs. Just change the beliefs by repeating things over and over in a different way. The way you wish for it to be, you're changing the belief. The limiting beliefs it's energy that's stuck, right? It's stuck energy that's blocking you from being open to what's actually happening. Okay, someone can be I'm just gonna make up something silly, like you're in a grocery store line or you're in a line somewhere getting coffee, and the person doesn't say, how was your day? They always say, how was your day? Why didn't they say, how was your day today? What's the matter? What did I do? They're mad at me. I did something wrong. And you start making assumptions and well, that's because I said something stupid last time. You start judging yourself. You start going internal and having all these limiting beliefs about the situation, about yourself. You miss everything in the room. You can't even smell the coffee anymore. You can't even, you're flushed, you're anxious, you're upset. You're so wrapped up in your psyche and the overthinking head that's going on that you lose sight of the moment. And I mean, you're not in the present time. You're in the past, like way in the past, you're way in the future, you're all over the place. So, but you're actually not. You actually are right there standing at the counter. It's those beliefs that are way more important than whether or not that other person had made a face at you or didn't say hi to you. Those beliefs are what's blocking you, not the other person's reaction to you. You have a choice when you live outside those beliefs to either say, whoa, you're having a bad day, I hope it gets better, ignore them, it's not your responsibility how another person is towards you unless you've done something like deliberate, and very obvious. Fair to ask sometimes. That's a different situation, but for most of the time, we're just making these assumptions and then we let ourselves spin out of control because of these limiting beliefs. And that doesn't allow for you to be in the moment and right in the moments where change happens. Change doesn't happen in the future because there is no future. There's only right now, right? You can't project yourself into the future, make some change, come back into the now, and then live your life from this point till the point where the change was made. That's not how it works. You make the change right now by doing something different and completely different right now. That's where the changes are made. And for a lot of us, it's fixing these limiting beliefs and eradicating them from our belief system so that instead you might think nothing. Someone does that to me now, I don't think anything of it, at all. I might, unless they're extremely rude, and then I might think, wow, that was rude. But it's not, I make a judgment on the behavior, not on my own self because of the behavior. And when it does come up and I feel that hot flush of self-shame and that horrible spinning of my wheels into my own negative beliefs, it's catching it in the moment then and telling it, no, I'm not going to listen to you. So, but I mean, that topic could go on for a long time about limiting beliefs, because we all get stuck there, and narcissistic abuse is so good at planting our minds with these beliefs, especially when you've had it from a young age. So perspective around them and working with literally changing them. Anyway, okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Hit me up. We're going to keep going though until there's a question. All right. So what is needed to make change in your life? What's needed? Taking power back from your inner narcissist. That's right. Taking power back from the voices of narcissism that are spinning in your inner world. That's not your inner narcissist. I'd say it is the echo of a narcissist in your head that's become an inner voice that's very toxic. If you think about it, it's anyway, flip the script on the narcissist. Use the experience to propel you forward as a new being with a deeper understanding of life and people, and your world will unfold in new and wonderful ways. So true, Bonnie. Take your power back. Absolutely. This whole thing is about taking your power back, right? Anastasia, hello. Yeah. And there's so many areas to take your power back, and it's all just one thing. It's just letting go of all of this so that you can be present to the moment that you're actually in. And our psychology is like this huge roadblock sometimes, right? That gets in our way of actually living our life, which is so strange, but it's the way it is. So, okay. One thing that's said, emotions are separate from thought, right? We have thoughts and we have emotions. Our thoughts are like our logic side, our thinking side, our reasoning, and our emotions are the feeling and the, I guess intuition gets in there too, but they're really just like how we feel about things, right? How our emotions are, right? Like how do I explain emotion? But it's trying to direct your emotions to feel something that they don't feel. I don't know how to. Sometimes I guess it works when it's not such a big deal, but when you have really big emotional responses to things based on triggers that are huge, based on really deep core wounds and really strong limiting beliefs, it's not much is going to touch it to change it on the emotional level. On the thought level, however, we can direct our thoughts. You can separate what you feel from what you think by getting some perspective around what you feel, having compassion for yourself for feeling what you feel, that this is awful to feel this way. And I have compassion and empathy for myself in that moment for feeling that. At the same time, my thoughts don't need to keep repeating the same lies over and over again and feeding back into those emotions. Does that make sense? We have the ability to direct our thoughts. Otherwise, we would not be able to do equations or reason or spell or write or do, we can make choices to function on, focus on one thing while we're feeling something else. We would be so lost in feeling that we couldn't. And that happens when you're overwhelmed, right? That feeling of being so lost in feeling you can't even think. But most of your life is not spent that way. Most of your life, you have a little wiggle room to redirect those thoughts. That's why it's important to redirect the thoughts, because what happens is the emotions go, oh, okay. And they start following along with the thoughts. And then you start making change toward a more positive mindset minimally, right? And as Bonnie says, love yourself. It gets you there. Okay. I realize just how much I bully myself sometimes. I can remember sitting at a table and I said something like, oh, that was stupid about myself, right? But like under my breath, just real quiet. The person sitting next to me like leaned over and they said, if you talk to me the way you just talked to you, I would never talk to you again. I thought, oh, I better change that. Okay. Yeah. The programs and the negative ruminating thoughts are like a broken record. They are, but you can play a new tune. You can put a new coin in, hit a different button on the jukebox and play a different tune. You don't need to listen to that broken record. We think we need to listen to it because we think it's who we are. It's not who we are. It's how we're programmed. We are not our programming. Okay. You're not your conditioning. You're inside there watching your programming. There's more to you than just what people have told you that you are. And that's what we're looking for, right? We're trying to create the life we want to create. And how you do it by stepping back behind all of this and saying, oh, I can make the change. I can make the change by playing a different record, right? All right. Okay. So what's needed for this change to be open? What you need to be open and receptive to change? How can you have an open heart toward your own life? Well, self-acceptance and self-love is number one, right? And getting there takes time and patience and all of that, but there's little pieces of it. You don't need it all at once. This is the thing. None of this is all and everything all at once. It's not going to be your whole, like, you don't sit around waiting for the moment I feel self-love to begin to make change. That would be ridiculous. It wouldn't catapult you into change, because it would, first of all, you'd be like, I'm so full of self-love, I don't need change. But then by the time you got there, the change has already happened. So self-acceptance, that no matter what, I'm okay. I'm okay. Self-trust, trust in self, which you create through the boundaries that you place in your life, and keeping, what's the word? Not withholding. What am I trying to say? Upholding the boundaries so that people don't cross them, and you don't cross your own boundaries. If you're a people pleaser and you say, I am not cooking dinner for one more person, unless I make the choice to do it on this, and these are my, this is my boundaries around all this cooking and cleaning I do for someone else, or whatever, whatever the thing is you do for someone, and you actually stick to it. You learn to trust yourself. You learn to trust yourself more and more by seeing that when someone's got red flags, you walk away. When a situation's toxic, you walk away. You learn to trust yourself by seeing you have your best interest at mind, and other people's as well. And that seeing that you can control your emotions and not dump them on other people. That's another way we trust ourselves, right? So there's all these ways that we learn to trust ourselves, and it's huge. When you trust yourself, there's so much less fear, right? All right. So, Bonnie is saying, my mind goes a million miles an hour sometimes. How do you slow it down? Maybe I have ADHD. Well, that's also, CPTSD has that feeling too. So, and intelligence has that feeling, and being high energy has that feeling. So without labeling it, because it doesn't matter at this point, it might matter to your life, but it doesn't matter from what we're talking about right now. How do you slow your mind down? You come into the present moment. You tell it to slow down. You say, whoa there, Bonnie brain. I'm not going there with you right now. I'm going to pay attention to what's around me in the room. I'm going to slow my thoughts by noticing what my body feels like, by paying attention to my breathing. You come back to yourself for even just a few seconds, even just like a minute, whatever, however long you can do it. It does help slow your thoughts down. Just even if you're only slowing your thoughts down for the time that you're attempting to be present in the room, then you get a break from those racing thoughts. If you don't take a break, you either burn out or you can't stop. You never sleep. You're just going, overthinking, getting your emotions involved. You tell yourself no. It's like if you're going to quit doing anything, you just quit doing it. It's that. Easier said than done, maybe, or maybe it's really simple. I don't know, with that attitude, right? I think it's an inner attitude of I'm just going to not let my mind spin. So yes, meditation, grounding yourself in the present, like training a dog really. Yes, your mind is there waiting to be told what to do, right? Your mind it needs a master. to control it. And we have to be that for ourselves. We have to be inside there going, all right, you're spinning your wheels. We got to stop. We're going to focus on what we're doing. We're going to organize something. We're going to go clean something. We're going to like redirect our attention towards something else for just a few minutes and slow it down. It does help. And it takes, got to train my dog brain. It takes practice because you're used to letting your mind take over. And what happens a lot of times, if you're INFP, is that right, Bonnie? What happens a lot of times with people who are extreme feelers and empaths of all kinds is your mind goes a million miles an hour and your emotions go for the ride. And what happens when the emotions go for the ride is get really big. Everything gets big and important. It matters because you feel it. Because when it's in your feelings, somehow feelings seem to matter more. And then you're on like two parts of you spinning out of control and you lose yourself in it. So take a deep breath, breathe, allow the feelings to be there, the thoughts to be there, but focus on something very specific can help. Going and actually changing the scenery can help. If you're sitting there on the couch, spinning your wheels in your head, going a million miles an hour, get up and look out the window. And when you look out the window, look off into the distance as far as you can see and see if you can tell yourself what you're seeing. You've just redirected your attention in a big way toward focusing on something else that isn't those thoughts, because you're forcing your brain to actually tell itself a story about what it's seeing, right? So that's one way. All right. Yes, you can stay in the same spot for however long, but the world and people are still changing all around you. Constantly change is a given. Remember, everyone else is spinning in their own little world too. So yeah, it's a given. And it's also, it's got the combination of things never changing, if things always being the same, the patterns that you see, and life changing. That's what's confusing to me. But okay. How do we direct the silent witness? Violet says, yes. I'm reading a book called, and I'm going to talk about it soon. I need to read it 2 or 3 times first and apply it to things related to narcissistic abuse, because there's a ton in there about it. It's called The Untethered Soul. It's amazing, blowing my mind. And it's, it's talking a lot about this. What did you call it? The silent witness, the seat of consciousness. So it's basically sitting inside yourself, watching your life take place, which is a place of calm. So anyway, it's good. And I think it's kind of what we're already talking about here all the time. It's just worded differently and much more in depth and actually very useful. So hopefully I'll get something out of it and can articulate it. I keep trying to, and it's not coming out right. So I gotta read it like 3 times. Okay. How do we direct this new way of thinking about and talking to ourselves outwardly or to our children? You just do it. It's awkward, Shelley. It's awkward at first when you start trying to apply it. You just do it. The more you do it, the more it becomes a new neural pathway in your brain. The more it becomes a habit, and then that habit becomes an actual neural pathway in your brain that is your go-to response versus the old way, which is the bad, negative way of doing it. So in the same way that a negative limiting belief is created, so can you create the positive ones. It's doing it with enough importance the first time that it makes an impact. The first time something really negative happened that creates a negative belief, it was impactful. Find something impactful that is positive, that's meaningful to you, that makes an impression. Then repeat it over and over and over and over, and then repeat it, replicate it in varied situations. So don't just repeat it every time this one thing happens, then you do this one thing. Try it out in different areas of your life and see where that takes you. Because that is my understanding of how to change a belief. At least one method. All right. And how beliefs are formed. and repeated. So yeah, let's see, what are we saying? We need an infusion of positive people around us. I go to a Buddhist center. That helps. Just the philosophy behind it helps a little. Not saying it has to be that a Buddhist center, but of course, no. Going to anywhere where you feel spiritually open can be really, really, really important. Doesn't matter whatever you believe is where you go, and wherever you teaching you want to practice, or religion you want to. It's religious, spiritual. Anywhere of learning, any kind of anything that opens you up to just being present and being positive is useful. Where are we? I heard it takes 21 days to change a habit completely. I think so. It's like about a month to change a habit, but it's like, I think it's 90 to create neural pathways, something like that. So it's triple the time to make it really stick. So you can create a habit, but habits are easily changed, right? The ones that to change a belief can take a lot longer, but you just keep going. It doesn't matter. There is no failure in it, because it's organic. It happens as you start doing it. It just starts happening. There's no measure of it. Right? Suddenly you look back and you realize, whoa, I'm not saying those things to myself anymore that I used to say. There you go. It's like counter programming. It is counter programming, exactly. So I'm going to go back to this and talk more about when you're not where you thought you would be. So another thing for changing your belief, going beyond that, is actually trying to create the life you desire, right? Trying to keep your focus toward what you want versus where you feel stuck. Embracing the change is huge, because without being open to change, the rest kind of, if you're going to cling to the past and stay there, then that's what you're going to do, and nothing's going to change. So that's important. But then what, right? Keep walking the path and be open to experiencing what's on the path. Don't be afraid of it, because you have learned to set boundaries, or you're learning to, and you have learned what you need through the failures, through the things that don't feel right. If you go hang out with someone and it doesn't feel right, you have learned what it is about that situation that didn't feel right to you, and you don't have to do it again, right? That's not a failure. That's a success. So be open to the path that you're on. What else did I miss? My ex used to, Jeannie's saying, my ex used to love to tell me, you're overthinking. How do I know if I actually was, or I was being narked? In that case, I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just watch what you do now. It doesn't matter if they were toxic to you, then it really doesn't matter what they can point out things that are 100% true. They're not always pointing out their own things. Yes, they can see things as well and point it out. Could be that you were overthinking. Could be they were using that phrase to throw you off. How do you know? You watch what you're doing now. If you're overthinking, if you question yourself over every move you make, and you're questioning other people's motives, you're questioning the intent of everything around you, you're talking yourself out of things because this might go wrong, or that might go wrong, or what if this, or what if that, or what if I said this to them, and then what will they say? If I say this, will they say this, 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 or this? And then if they say that, what should I say? You're like, if you're doing that, yeah, you're probably overthinking. and then what, right? So then you just work to let it go and let other people have their responses to things. You have yours, and let go of the outcome of the situation, of controlling the outcome, because you can't control it, right? You can only control yourself as much as you can. I cannot tolerate being around negative people anymore. Me either. I feel the vibes and I want to get away. That says Bonnie. Yes. Hi, Jack. Good to see you. We're live today here. So with not where you thought you'd be. So what is it that you thought you would be, right? Or where is it that you are? And where would you like to be? Knowing where you desire to go in life can be useful in getting there, or in getting somewhere and making changes that that you want to make in your life, right? So paint a picture of it for yourself in words, or picture, or draw it, or words, or art, or whatever it is. People use what is it called, vision boards, things like that. Create an image of the life that you want, so that you know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, you're just wandering, right? So create some positive imagery for yourself to get to where you want to be. And it's not to say that it's magic and it's going to make it happen, but it points you in a direction that is positive and keeps, at the very least, it keeps you motivated, right? My narcissist used to say, I thought too much, but it's usually because they don't want you to think about what they're doing and their behavior. Exactly. It could be that too. So you just look at your life now, and most of us do overthink a lot. It's okay. We just got to work on letting go. The more you let go of worrying about what other people think, the less you overthink. Really, it's kind of magic. How do you get past surviving to get to creating the life you want? This is what we're talking about. So what do you want? If you don't know what you want, start figuring it out. There are a million questions there's powerful questions like, if money were no object and you had all the money in the world, what would you do all day? That kind of thing to help you find the passions that you have in life. So start looking at what brings you happiness, what brings you joy, where does your passion lie? What do you want for your life? Where do you see it going? Things like that help you to open up to yourself and the possibilities of your life, versus staying stuck in, but I'm not where I wanted to be. Well, okay, then what, right? We have to see through the narcissistic gaslighting and find truth. That's right. Well, no, we have to remember our truth that we already know too. Like finding truth. Yes. Remembering that we already knew the truth of our own truth is big too. That's why I say, when you gray rock, don't tell the narcissist you're doing this. Don't do it out loud. Name the behavior in your own head of what they're doing, and tell yourself, but I know the truth. I know my truth. I'm not going to share my truth because they will distort it. There's the essence of gray rock, right? Why share a truth someone's going to distort? There's no reason. It doesn't do any good. So, and it causes more harm to you. So that's remembering that truth, those kind of truths of who you are, and that your truth matters. So, okay. I picture getting a camper van, moving away from the place, taking my paints, my guitar, and spices to cook, work, and exam, and being as exam moderator, and make online training programs. And I'm doing it. Excellent. You see? Yeah. And you set your sights and you go and you do it. It's that simple. It's not always that simple, but it can be. And that's not to say everything would be that simple. Some things are complicated and difficult to achieve. Yes. But if we're talking mini goals in your life, like miniature goals of, okay, if you set a goal of, I want to experience the feeling of happiness today. I want to experience the feeling of joy, happiness. And you go out looking for it, your chances are way higher of finding it than if you sit around feeling the feelings of not being able to experience it. You know what I'm saying? If you stay in the negative, you're not, it's a gift then when it comes, and it's rare. If you go out looking for the things that bring you joy, then you're more likely to experience them, but you only experience them when you're open to it. when you're not telling yourself, I'll never feel good again. This is awful. And all you're thinking about is the bad stuff. So setting your sights on things and doing it can be as simple as that too. What are we saying here? Violet says, if someone is constantly undermining, you're going to think you're always wrong and you must fix it. Think to fix. Yes. And then you get lost in your own. Exactly. That's why we don't overthink, because of no reason, right? We've been taught to overthink because we're taught not to trust ourselves, and we're taught not to trust, not to just be responsible for ourselves, but to be responsible for everybody else's emotions. And we're only responsible for our own. So, okay. So when you're feeling stuck in a pattern of thought, find ways to open your mind and your heart to something new and different. So try things, take classes, meet new people, have new experiences, join things. I mean, anything that gets you unstuck from the pattern that you're in, right? Something that expands your mind. Learn something that expands your heart. Go understand that you can feel sad and horrible and depressed, and you can feel love for something at the same time. So to me, that's expansive, to be able to have both while you're healing, especially, right? Let's see. I always felt responsible for narcissistic mommy dearest. She expected it. Yeah, you're taught to, you're trained to, because they don't have accountability for their own emotions and their own feelings and their own behaviors. So you're trained to be that for both. It's exhausting. You're holding the energy and the responsibility of everybody's everything when you're taught to live that way. So that's part of the letting go and being present to yourself, where you realize they're responsible for them and I'm responsible for me, and that's it. There's the boundary. And that's a huge boundary. And when you learn that boundary, you have way more time and energy for yourself and for feeling positive. All right. Okay. What else? So, okay, the last thing I'm going to say here is, through all of this stuck feeling, the changes, it can feel really dark and scary and alone. It can feel really like, well, this isn't going to work. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere. Like, I'm still here spinning my wheels, the same thing over and over. You're not. This is an opportunity to discover yourself, okay? To discover new things and make deeper connections with the world around you. It's a huge opportunity to live. You can't live when you're under the thumb of a toxic person, right? And you can't live when you're in the shadow of their programming, not fully. So this stuck time, this time when it's the in-between, where you don't feel like your life's where you want it, but but you're also afraid to make change, it's an opportunity to discover all of this new stuff for yourself and a new life that you can actually live the life you're living, right? Okay. Because, yeah, you're just trying to find yourself, right? That's what I think. Okay. Anything else you guys have for today? It's like a devil on one shoulder, angel on the other. Right. And it's all this pull back and forth when it's not necessary. None of it's necessary, because what's necessary is discovering the moment and being present to yourself right now. And here's the thing. A lot of people feel like really selfish, like, oh, I shouldn't be putting all this focus on myself, all this self. We're always talking about self. The more you can be present to yourself, the more you can be present to the moment, the more you've got to give to the world around you. It's actually selfless once you get into it. It can be. It should be. And, well, not should. It tends to be. Where if I'm not so preoccupied with what I think you're thinking about me, I actually hear you, right? If I'm not so preoccupied with what somebody 5 minutes ago did down there when they made a face that I took personally, that, if I'm not so wrapped up in that, I'm present to what's around me. So I have more to give to what's right here in this moment. All right. Yeah. Being present for yourself. Yeah. Okay. A massive thing with healing I found is quietly getting really piddled off with their abuse and coming to terms that you don't need toxic mom or dad. It keeps your thoughts close to you. And you grit your teeth and emotionally break them to give them to you. That's what I experienced. Interesting. Bonnie's saying ruminating thoughts are like one-way conversation with yourself. It is. It's just bouncing the same thought back and forth over and over until your emotions are so wrapped up in it. It's all like a big, exciting, horrible, repeating thing, right? All right. I think I've read them all. Have I? I think so. All right. And that's it. That's it for today, you guys. So you guys have a great weekend. And anything that you would like to talk about next week, let me know. You know where to find me here. You can leave it on a comment on any video. I saw yours, Jack. I need to think about how to talk about that. Yeah. So anything you guys want to talk about, if anyone's having any problems or concerns in their life that they need help with, they can always add them here as well. And I will try and help you. If you need coaching, private coaching, you can find me at queenbeing.com, and everything's in the main description of every video. If you've not hit subscribe, please hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, all the good stuff, hit all the buttons, right? That's your interactive time. Hit the buttons. And if you would like texting notification before I go live, text me at 33222. Put the words Lise Live, LISELIVE. Hit send, and I'll text you about 10 minutes prior to going live. And I guess that's it. I think that's it. If anyone is looking for group coaching, the info's in every description as well. That is ongoing. You can join anytime. It technically starts at the beginning of the month, but there isn't really it's organic, it flows with each day. So it doesn't matter when you start. If you need it, it's there. Okay, you guys. Jack is talking about separation and individuation. Yeah, it does. It sounds like he's talking about breaking the chain that binds you to the toxic abuser that then allows you to become your own person. Okay. It's okay to say no to it's okay to say no to anyone. That's the beautiful thing. It really is. I just hit the like button. Okay, good. All right, my friends, you have a good weekend. I will see you Monday, and you take care. Yay. Okay. I'm reading as I'm exiting. All right. You take care. I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.